Will coronavirus prevent Pakistan and India going to war this summer? Diplomatic and military tensions between India and Pakistan have soared since New Delhi scrapped the semi-autonomous status of Kashmir, India's only Muslim-majority state, on August 5, 2019. From ceasefire violations marked with high-intensity shelling to Pakistan's battling words in international fora and on social media, with Turkey backing up every syllable, it seemed as if war or, at the minimum, extensive skirmishes leading to ever more tense and fragile standoffs, was imminent between the two nuclear-powered arch-rivals. During the last few months, several Pakistani government ministers, including its Prime Minister, Imran Khan, openly threatened a befitting response to India's moves in Kashmir, and warned of a nightmare scenario which could end up in a nuclear war. He warned of a similar dire scenario over India's new citizenship laws. I have been warning the Indian community of this for some time and am reiterating again, if India does such an operation to divert attention from its domestic chaos plus whip up war hysteria to mobilize Hindu nationalism, Pak will have no option but to give a befitting response. Jaishankar that, the part of Kashmir now under Pakistan's control was part of India and that one day India would regain physical jurisdiction over it. Thus far, the coronavirus pandemic has far from silenced conflict on the border between India and Pakistan. According to the latest Indian intelligence assessment, 375 to 400 terrorists are waiting to infiltrate from Pakistan. Pakistan-backed militants are making sustained attempts to infiltrate into India via the international border in the Jammu region, the Punjab border, and even the long coastline of Gujarat. According to my own sources, at least 8 consignments of weapons have arrived in Kashmir, including one, intercepted by Indian police, that comprised guns and hand grenades which, together with a future consignment of AK-47s, were intended for the targeted killings of politicians and police personnel. In 2020, so far, 36 terror attacks have been committed in Indian-controlled Kashmir, with 61 terrorists and 17 soldiers killed. Since the Indian state's primary focus now is battling the corona pandemic, its special forces are not proactively initiating offensive encounters with terrorists, technically referred to as coordinate search operations. Terror masterminds across the border are using India's preoccupation with relieving coronavirus-related crises as an excellent opportunity to infiltrate a maximum number of terrorists and consolidate them in the Kashmir Valley. A senior officer having served in Kashmir for years, and currently attached with India's external intelligence services, told me on the condition of anonymity that there are confirmed reports of Pakistan's key intelligence service, Inter-Service Intelligence, or IC, cultivating relations with regional branches of ISIS. Islamabad refuses to prosecute Masood Azhar, 1A, UN-designated terrorist and India's most wanted man, who directed the Pulwama suicide car bombing a year ago in which 40 Indian soldiers were killed, or sanction his group, Jaish-e-Mohammed. Pakistan's intelligence service is working on a number of different fronts in order to destabilize Kashmir, and one of them involves not Islamist radicals but Sikh separatists too. Pakistan has long believed that encouraging a militant synergy between the two separatist groups against Indian rule, the so-called Kashmir to Khalistan policy, would play to its benefit. So, despite the open secret of Islamabad's support for a whole plethora of violent militant groups, it's trying out another pivot, giving new Kashmir-based terror groups avowedly secular names such as the Resistance Front, framing them as authentic, indigenous separatist movements. Pakistan cannot afford to be seen as an overt instigator of terrorist violence by active support for groups that have already caught international attention and sanctions, not least by the anti-terror financing watchdog, the FAT. With Chinese support, Pakistan feels emboldened to act more aggressively and revive militancy in Kashmir, and post-COVID-19, and the likely American, if not international, opprobrium over China's role in covering up the extent of infection in Wuhan, Beijing will welcome the unconditional support it will get from Pakistan. Open gallery view. A supporter of the Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, wearing a mask with an image of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, waves a BJP flag during a rally in New Delhi on December 22, 2019. Credit, AFP. According to interviews I conducted for an upcoming book on terror financing in Kashmir, it is evident that Pakistan is using both real and imagined fears of Islamophobia in India to establish and consolidate sleeper cells of terrorist groups in small Indian towns and cities which could be activated to execute high-profile assassinations and terrorist attacks. Imran Khan has been hyperactive on mainstream and social media in branding the Modi government's relationship with its Muslim minority as a latter-day version of Adolf Hitler and the Jews, and its policy in Kashmir as one of ethnic cleansing. The deliberate and violent targeting of Muslims in India by Modi government to divert the backlash over its COVID-19 policy, which has left thousands stranded and hungry, is akin to what Nazis did to Jews in Germany. It can't be forgotten that Pakistan is not coming to this debate about analogies to Jewish suffering with clean hands. The country is infamous for its deep-seated anti-Semitic tropes within its own domestic political discourse, and its fertile Hindu-Zionist conspiracy theories, hatreds that it's also spreading through its proxies in Kashmir and the rest of India. It's clear to reasonable observers that the Pakistani intelligence forces, one of the key real power centers of the country, see the coronavirus crisis as an opportunity to push hard at an Indian vulnerability. In the absence of sustained regular Indian Special Forces activity, and the curfews and human rights violations associated with them, Pakistan-backed militants are being denied a regular source of radicalized recruits. Open gallery view. Women raise their colored pawns, representation of blood, during the rally to mark Kashmir Solidarity Day, in Karachi, Pakistan. February 5, 2020. Credit, Akhtar Somro/Reuters. However, India's revamped political and strategic establishment, after years of vacillation and appeasement, now firmly believes that there can be no lasting solution to Pakistan-sponsored terrorism except by recapturing the part of Kashmir occupied by its neighbor, from where terror attacks are invariably launched. He has advised the former governor of Jammu and Kashmir and has written for The Print, Sunday Guardian, Haaretz, South Asia Democratic Forum, Brussels, Vivekananda International Foundation, First Post, Fair Observer, Huffington Post, The Economic Times, Perspectives on Terrorism and The Express Tribune.